Oh, look at that. Technology, who knew? Thank you so much for all being here today. So lovely to see you all. Kubernetes, that's pretty cool. Yes, so my talk today is about the spinning parrots and the flashing logo that you might be very familiar with. I'm just here to say, oh, you've grown up so fast. I'm just so proud. And yeah, my short statement here today is that I'm sincerely grateful for the friends in the community and the upliftment that the project has provided the industry and people. If you're familiar with Kubernetes, you might have felt that thing. Yes, I've been contributing to the Kubernetes project since 2019. I'm currently based in Wellington. Who here is not? Who here is? I don't know. Wellington's awesome, and I'm also a software engineer, and I love open source. I've been doing open source since I can last remember. It's been too long, but it hasn't. And same thing, contributor card. These things are cool. I contributed to Kubernetes there on a thing that did not get merged, and that's okay. That's called learning. Kubernetes, it's had a bit of a past, and I think we should go over it just a little bit. Sit down in the chair, have a bit of a serious talk. No, Kubernetes, the first version was committed here by Joe Beda, who at the time was at Google, and this was in 2014, and that feels like a really long time ago. Oh my goodness. And yeah, so this first release was contributed to by Joe and Ville and Tim and Dawn, Brian, and Daniel. And it was announced at DockerCon. And it, unfortunately for the folks at Docker, it really did steal the thunder from them. And we wouldn't be here today without Docker. But that is what happened. I find it really funny, as you can see, the small text in italics at the bottom here. It says that when they announced it, they were like, oh, it's just another one. It's just another one of them container orchestratory things. When it was founded, there was some external contribution from our friends at Red Hat. And the problem is, if other companies want to contribute to it, you kind of don't want to be contributing to competitors directly, depending on business reasons. But in order to make sure that it's stable for everyone to be able to contribute to it, in order to pump life and resource and stuff into projects like Kubernetes, the CNCF needed to be founded. And the CNCF is one of the most beneficial organizations in the tech industry that I can think of right now, aside from the Apache Foundation. And they were founded in 2015 when Kubernetes was like, yeah, let's get this going in the industry, right? And so here you can read their very first blog post and this long URL that you probably can't read really well, but it's there. So that's slides are. You can get the PDFs. Talk to BMK, and we begin. All right, who likes APIs? Yeah, three and a half people. Cool. Kubernetes has APIs. Great, cool, moving on. So we begin at the first iteration with these things. We got a pod, we got a service, we got a config map, maybe multiple. We got secrets, but they're not, anyways, service accounts, and then replication controllers, and pet sets. Huh? What's a pet set? Does anyone know what a pet set is? But yeah, you got it, okay, 10 points. You get a high five if you want. So a lot of things, there were a lot of APIs in the initial release of Kubernetes. It wasn't fantastic. Like, it's not 1.30, but hey, it's still pretty good. And Google has done a bunch of stuff. They've been doing production for a while. They've made multiple container orchestrators because that's what you do. I haven't done that, but each their own. And one of the things was they're working with companies like Niantic. Who's ever played Pokemon Go? Yeah, I played it back in the day. They needed to be able to do some really big scale and and stateful things, and so you have APIs like PetSet from back in the day. Moving on, I'm not here to say vendor this, vendor that, but this was a pretty significant event in the life cycle of the project. So AWS at the time was Google's direct competitor. Who didn't know that? And they actually started supporting Kubernetes, which is like the craziest thing. They were like, oh wow, maybe it's happening, because at the time, and arguably, I'm not going to get into that. AWS had a lot of market share, and Google were like, oh no. So then when they launched EKS over at AWS, they knew that their idea was validated. If their competitors doing their thing, right? And then we move on. Years down the line, as you can see, 1.9 to 1.30. It's quite a lot of iterations. We have important things happening here, like endpoint slices, deployments, stateful sets, which have changed the name since 10 points, and horizontal pod autoscalers. You can make stuff happen in production, make stuff reliable with pod disruption budgets, persistent storage. That ended up happening. Batch workloads, that seems to be a topical thing. Being able to do cron jobs and jobs. And security, because we like to make sure that not everyone has access to everything, so it's always good. And they're conformant. You can pick up a Kubernetes from whoever you want, and all of these things work exactly the same. And I think that's awesome. You can go to Catalyst, you can go to Red Hat, pick one. Just, there you go, you got them. And yeah, there's some really cool and important things that have come out of the project, like the governance structure that has been replicated across heaps of other CNCF projects. If you're not familiar with it, please go to this URL for the Kubernetes community repo under governance. And then also the community values. Like such values include project over company, making it distributed so there's not just one person who can do everything, making sure it's fair for everyone, and empowering people, because that's more than just the side effect of the project. That is one of the most wholesome, important parts of it. Also things like controller pattern, we can say exactly what we want, make it happen. Kind of if you're familiar with deployments, that's a good way to look at it. Well-maintained etcd and CordioNS, the fact that we can have these things that Kubernetes depends so heavily on, and they're doing really well today. Also things like you can have your own resource. Has anybody ever used the Domino's pizza controller for Kubernetes? Because that was a thing. Just write a resource and then you can order a pizza. Look it up. I don't think they use that today, but that's okay. No complaints. And we also have things like GitOps tooling, like FlexCD and Argo, that you can write into a repo and use various toolings to make sure that your changes are correct and then eventually get applied after review and merge. Please review your pull requests. Communities in Bloom. Have you seen the absolute sheer size of our community? It's awesome. We have over 77,000 people contributing to the project, plus. That's awesome. Over 8,000 companies who find the value and use that for their own way and contribute back and then bring that culture of everybody getting the same thing. And 44 countries. That's cool. We're in there. We're 1 out of 44. Clap. That's right, we get a seat in the global stage. I do like that. And on average, 33 commits a day. That's 123 commits to date. That's a cool number, 123,000. And we've had 16 KubeCons. Who's been to a KubeCon? Yeah, like that's awesome. The fact that we can go to places, like even just today, like we can come together as a community, we can talk about stuff that is helping people genuinely and is bringing freshness to this industry, because we need it. And if you want to find out about these stats, go to the link that you probably can't read. And some fun trivia. We didn't have kubectl back in the day. It was cloud config, or CFG. Don't come at me. And kubecfg, which I will say it that way because if I say kubeconfig, you're thinking of the file that we have today. But that's not it. An API server. Who likes to have exec into a cluster with no permissions? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that was how it was. Everybody should run version 1.0. Please don't do that. And also Docker. Docker was more of a production-y a thing that people depended on in production. Thankfully, not as much today because Containerd, the stuff that you actually should be doing in production is there. CRI, just speak in the same way and we'll do what you want. Who cares? It's awesome. I want to talk about some of the fruits of our labor, whichever word sounds better there. We've got boring and consistent and reliable infrastructure. That's cool. Kubernetes has been slowing down in the past couple of years. I remember, I think the first release I was a part of I was doing conformance test writing, so a bit of background there. And it was 1.14, and I remember there was heaps happening. There was 4 releases per year. That's changed since it's now 3. And yeah, there was so many APIs coming into beta, alpha. Not as many being stable there, but in the more recent years there have been. That's really cool. Open governance, we've got this really awesome example of what it looks like to run a project where everybody gets a seat at the table, where everybody has the same level playing field, where you can be whoever you are, be kind, show up, here you go. It's just software, that's what we're here for. And yeah. Also the vendor neutrality that, as I was saying before, who wants a Kubernetes? Just use whichever one works for you. It's all the same. You got the same APIs. That's great. And you can pick up a workload and put it over here, and you don't really have to change much configuration. Hopefully you're not tying yourself into a vendor. Don't do that. And also, you're here today. That's awesome. Clap for yourselves. I just want to leave with a final statement to say it was worth it. And this mantra that I want to leave you with is uplift, make new, and come together. And with those things in mind, happy birthday, Kubernetes. Hip hip hooray.